2300-year prophecy, the bad year of Haile Selassie, foretold in scriptures.
Okay, first we'd like to show you that this is a prophetic time code that exists and you can look it up. It's something that you will find on YouTube. You see, we can continue going on, and the 2300-year prophetic time code is something that is important within the Christian curriculum in regards to the coming of Christ. This chart here, this is the Europeans Western's interpretation of the 2300-year prophetic time code. You see 457 BC. That was a decree that went out to build the temple, of which this temple was based on a prophecy in regards to the abomination of desolation found in Daniel. Now you see 457 BC, and then you see 408 BC. Jerusalem was completed in 408 BC. Jerusalem finished. That was the first 49 years of the prophetic time code, which is called the 70 weeks prophecy. It gives a description of the decree going out, of which Cyrus spoke of a decree in 457 BC to rebuild the temple. And this is found in Numbers and Ezra. And it took 49 years to build the temple. Now, what's important with this prophetic time code is these two dates here. If you look at these codes, now you see the 70 weeks, the 490 years prophetic time code. It is a different prophetic time code from the 2300-year prophetic time code. The 2300-year prophetic time code is dealing with the sanctuary and the cleansing of the temple, which is going to take 2300 years from when the temple is built. Now, what the Christians did, they started the 2300 years at 457 BC when the decree went out to rebuild the temple. It took 49 years for the temple to be completed. So in 408 BC, the temple was completed, it was finished, and the doors opened. That's when the abomination of desolation began. When the doors opened, when it was in operation, because it was to last 2300 years before a cleansing. Now, what they did was interpret the prophetic time code as starting at 457 BC. You count 2300 years from 457 BC when the decree went out, you come up with 1844, the Great Disappointment. If you look up 1844, it's clear that the Great Disappointment refers to the grief experienced by 100,000 Millerites who expected Jesus to return on October 22nd, 1844. This date was the end of the longest time prophecy in the Bible, found in Daniel 7 and 8. The Millerites began calculating the 2300-year prophetic time code, of which they started in 457 BC. You were supposed to count 2300 years, not from when the decree went out, but when the temple was actually built in 408 BC. That was 49 years from the decree going out. That is a part of the 70 weeks prophecy, where the prophecy of the 70 weeks give the prediction of the coming of a Messiah that was to be brought forth and go through a crucifixion. And that's a calculation, prophetic time code of 490 years, predicting the coming of a Messiah that is to be slain, a Messiah that is to suffer, a Messiah that is to be brought to his death. And then the 2300-year prophetic time code is the prophecy that predicts the coming of another Messiah, a second Messiah. And some Christians may say it's the second coming of Christ. The Rastafarians may say, yes, it's the coming of His Imperial Majesty, but it is the coming of the Messiah who is to come forth and bring the redemption upon the earth 2,300 years after 408 BC. The 70 weeks prophecy started in 457. There's two prophetic time codes, so they assumed to start the 2,300 day prophecy the same year they started the 70 weeks prophecy, which the 70 weeks prophecy, it is determined in the Bible when to start this prophecy, when the decree go out. The 2,300 year prophetic time code is not prescribed when to start. So that is the mystery. But the clue was within the 70 weeks by making sure that it is presented in the 70 weeks, that first 49 year period. That first 49 year period is important because that is the two options that the Christians had to count the 2,300 year prophetic time code to determine what year brings forth the Messiah. So they chose 457 and came up with 1844. 2,300 years from 457 is 1844. That's the great disappointment. Instead of going to the next option, the second date, the second date is 408 BC, of when the temple was completed. All they had to do is count 2,300 years from 408 BC, and you come up with 1892, the birth year of which the Messiah was to be on earth. What they did was calculate the 2,300 year prophetic time code 49 years before it was supposed to be calculated. They were supposed to calculate it when the temple doors opened and the priest started giving the sacrificial offerings. This is when the abomination takes place. You can't start it in 457 BC because there's no oblations, there's no rituals, there's no sacrificing, so there's no abomination upon just the building of it. The abomination comes forth when they begin their sacrificing.
The reason we are using the temple is because Christ is the temple. And so this is a prophecy by Daniel. It aligns exactly with the birth of the Messiah, the first coming and the second coming. Remember, he's from the lineage of King David and Solomon. That's historical. His birth year is seen as preordained, foretold by prophecy, and the continuity with temple-centric prophecy. It aligns with earlier links to Solomon's temple dedication, creating a multi-scriptural prophetic foundation. Adds another layer to the Christ parallels. So let's talk about his name in the Bible. So first, in Revelation 19, the Apostle John beholds Christ in his triumphant return as the conquering king. It says he will come in a new name. Let's just say his name was Jesus Christ. He will not be called Jesus Christ. He will have another name. And how will you know the name? He has a name written on him that no one knows but he himself. Before that prophecy is fulfilled, you cannot know what his name is. So basically, if the name Selassie should be in the Bible, it will be sealed because he will come in a new name that no one knows but him. Listen, Revelation 5:5 it says, and one of the elders said to me, weep no more. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered, so that he can open the scroll and its 7 seals. The Lion of Judah, the conquering Lion of Judah, he's the only one who can open up the seals. He has prevailed. The king prevailed to open the seals. If you flip the name seal, you will find the word sealer. Selassie, he's the sealer. He's sealing everything. They say the word Selah in the Bible, its exact meaning is uncertain, but it is often thought to signify a pause for contemplation or reflection. Man, I disagree with that. Let's go to Ethiopia, where I'm thinking that word might originate from. And I'm not wrong, because you see, Enoch is the first man who never died, right? And he's called Enoch the Ethiopian traditionally, right? And his son is Methuselah. Methuselah is the longest living man in the Bible. The oldest man in the Bible is the son of the man who never died, the first man to never die. And then this son of the man who never died has a name, Sila, Methuselah, a name associated with Ethiopians, and his father is Ethiopian, and Haile Selassie is Ethiopian. And we find it so much in the book of Psalms. Yeah, let's look at some verses with the word Selah, like the 87th Psalm, right? So, 87. His foundation is in the holy mountains, Zion, right? More than all the dwellings of Jacob, O city of God, Selah. This one was born there. God, Selah, God, Selah. Oh, city of God, Selah. You might ask, where was he born and who are we talking about? We are talking about Selah. So, where was he born? In verse 4, it says, I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. Behold, Philistia and Tyre, with Ethiopia. This man was born there. So who is Selah? So it says, and the Most High himself shall establish her. Oh, who? The Most High himself shall establish her. Who is her? Her is Ethiopia. And the man who was born there is the Most High himself, who shall establish her. Glorious things are spoken of thee, O city of God, Selah. Now, I'm saying that city of God is Ethiopia. Alright? So, the question would be, what glorious things are spoken of Ethiopia? And I'll give you a few. Let's start with the Garden of Eden. And the first nation, the first known nation to be mentioned in the Bible. Right? So, the first known nation to be mentioned in the Bible is Ethiopia. I mean, that's glorious. Ethiopia was never colonized. It is the only African nation that was never colonized. Why? The Most High loved the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. And also, the cradle of man. Ethiopia is the cradle of man. So, yes, glorious things are spoken of Ethiopia. This positions Selah not as a pose, but as a prophetic code, only unsealed by the Lion of Judah, Haile Selassie I. Ethiopia becomes a symbol of Zion, the only African nation to resist colonization. Ark of the Covenant is said to reside in Aksum, that's in Ethiopia. If Christ is to return to Zion, Then Ethiopia, as Zion's gate, becomes central, and his Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, becomes the keeper of the ark. And guess what? That was among his titles. So trademark, dwelling of God, Zionic role, high priest, king, energy. All right.